Hi, welcome to Camp Happy Mo, and welcome to our fourth and final installment of Christmas in July. So today is going to be all about using things that aren't new. I know that sounds funny. I know a lot of people like to follow all the new releases and buy all the new things, and that's exciting. And I do like to buy new things too, but I like to also use things that aren't new. And I will often, after a holiday, wait for things to go on sale. I'll scope things out before the holiday to see, what the latest craze is and what everybody is liking. And then I'll put it in one of my wish lists and I will wait for it to go on sale after the holiday, knowing that I can use that the next year and nobody that gets a card from me is going to know when it was from. The products I'm using today actually came out 2 years ago. And I just bought them maybe 6 months ago. I had bought a set of these. This is the Waffle Flower Postage Collage. This is one of their sets. This one is the Christmas set. I had bought the original set late last year just to try it out to see if I liked it or not. And I loved it. It was a lot of fun. So I went back and I got the Christmas one, like I said, about 6 months ago. And I made a cheat sheet so that I know what the stencils are going to look like, because for me to just show you this, you can't really tell what these are. And I apologize if you hear the rain hitting my roof. It just started pouring down rain. That's pretty exciting. So anyways, so I made a cheat sheet so I would know what everything looked like. And I'm using all old stuff today. I have Stampin' Up Ink pads, which is my go-to. I've got a bunch of different blending brushes over here. The Waffle Flower stencils. I've got the scrapbook.com, the silicone mat that I'm going to use. I did pick up this stamp set for this. And you know what? There's other stencils in here. And I bet you some of these are Christmas related, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So I got the Christmas set of stamp things that I can put on these. So this set again came out like 2 years ago. And I only know that because I went searching to see other videos that might have been done. And one of the first videos was 2 years ago. And it was done by a person that follows all of the latest things that comes out. And every time that there's a new release of certain companies, they always have a video like right when it comes out, or usually before it comes out, available for the general public. And their video was from 2 years ago. I didn't find many other videos using this set, so this will be fun. And maybe this will spark some new interest in this set since it is 2 years old. I'm sure some of the other sets that are Christmassy ones, like I see the snowmen are in here, came out since then. I don't know if Waffle Flower is going to come out with another set this year. I know they're still coming out with Postage Collage stuff. But it'll be fun to see if this renews any interest in the older products. I think the older products are just as good as the newer products. And so this is what we're going to do today. Now, I will start out doing the ink blending probably on the first layer. I'll do it in real time just to give you an idea of how long it takes. After that, because there are 4 stencils and I don't want us to be here forever, because I'm sure you have other things to do today too, like make some Christmas cards. And maybe you have this set and maybe you'll pull it out. But anyways, I will speed up the ink blending on each of the additional layers of this just to make it go a little faster. And then I'll probably make some cards and come back and I'll show you the cards made with this set and with this panel right here. And I am going to make a total of probably 8 or 10 of these total. Not going to show you all of those because it's going to take me some time to get them done. But that's my plan. But this is the set I'm going to use, so let's get started. Okay, so I've cut a panel. It's this is accent opaque white paper. It is 80 pound. Not real thick. But it is bright white, and it's cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is an A2 size card. And that's what this set goes to. They do make these stencils for the Postage Collage in all different card sizes now. So if you don't make A2 cards and you want to do a different size, you can always go looking for the other sizes. So on each of these stencils, they are numbered 1 through 4, and they have a guide box around them that you can line up with your paper. So we're going to go ahead and get this lined up. And I am going to use mint tape to tape this down to my silicone mat because I don't want it to move. Now, as I said, I'm going to be using Stampin' Up! Inks. That is what I have the most range of colors in. I picked up the full set a couple of years ago before they did the color revamp. So I have the most colorful inks in the Stampin' Up! And that's why I use them all the time. I didn't do the color revamp. I don't have the new colors, but I have enough of a rainbow that I'm probably never going to have to buy more ink. Although I have bought Catherine Polar inks because they're awesome, and I've bought some Simon Hurley inks because they're awesome, and some scrapbook.com inks to try them out, and they are just as awesome too. But I probably won't go full set unless something happens to the ones I have. So if you wonder why I use Stampin' Up! Inks, that's the reason why. I have the most colors of those, and I really like their ink pads, except for trying to get them open and get them closed. I always end up with inky fingers. But anyways, my blending brushes, I have a variety here. Some of these are Altenew. Most of these are Altenew. The big ones, the skinny ones, the little chubby ones. And then I have these. These are from Amazon. These are makeup brushes. And they look like these. The bristles on them are a little bit softer and a little bit longer than the Altenew ones. They work just as great. I bought them in bulk. And I'll put links for everything below. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So for the first layer, I do want to start off with the lighter colors of everything because these are the background colors. So for the deer, I've got 4 browns here that we can choose from, and we're going to use crumb cake for the deer's body. These are not going to be perfectly blended. We're going to do the best we can with it. I am going to reuse some of my brushes with some of the colors because I tend to do that. A lot of these colors, if you double up crumb cake, you end up with soft suede. And as long as you clean your brushes, it's okay to use the same brush. Okay, so we're going to use crumb cake on this, and we're going to start down here with the little deer. Now I tend to start on the stencil and work my way in, but I find that my edges always end up darker, and then I end up just ink blending the whole thing darker anyways. So it doesn't matter. I mean, if you start in the middle and you end up with some dark blotches, you can always go back and ink blend those out. And like I said, these images are so small that if your ink blending is not perfect on them, it's still going to turn out okay. Okay, and then I'm also going to use the crumb cake as the base for my little house over here. And that kind of ties it together across the front panel. I try to use some of the same colors within each of the panels, where I can anyways, to help tie it all together. Okay, so that's our crumb cake. And for our holly leaves up here, we're going to use Just Jade, and we're also going to use that on these trees. And we'll use it on this little tree down here. Now I did get a little bit on my house over here, and that's going to be just fine. I'll probably go back in with the crumb cake and darken the house up a little bit. There, and it's not as noticeable now. Okay, and then for the ornaments, I'm going to make them 2 different colors. We're going to use the Moody Mauve on this circle up here. And we're going to use Pool Party on this one down here. And then our first color in here, we're going to go ahead and do this as Balmy Blue for the snowflakes. With these brushes from Amazon, the bristles are a little bit longer. I'd actually prefer that they were shorter than this because they do tend to have a lot of give to them. So you have to work them a little bit extra to get the ink down on the paper. But I do like how soft they are, and they do pick up the ink really well off of the ink pad. But that's just one thing to keep in mind, is that the longer your bristles are, the more you're going to have to work it to get the ink off of the bristles onto the paper. Still overall a really good deal to buy them in bulk like this, and they clean up really nice. I've already washed these with Dawn dish soap, and they the ink comes right out of them, with the exception of reds and purples. Those tend to stain. Okay, so that's our first layer. So I'm going to go ahead and wash off this stencil, and then we'll come back and we'll do stencil 2. Okay, and this is what it looks like so far. My brown is a little bit messy over here, but there will be a background on this deer, so it won't be as messy as what it looks right now. And the background is actually on stencil 2. So again, we're going to line this up with the guides. Now I am going to speed up the ink blending a little bit so that it doesn't take as long. Because you get the idea. I mean, you know how to ink blend. So one thing you need to be aware of is around the deer there is a background. And then there's this little circle here, which I'm assuming is meant to be like a little cheek that you like put pink in. So we're going to make this pink, but we're going to make the background of this dark green. So let me grab some pink. The pink is not going to show up really great because of the brown. I'm not sure why they didn't have us do that first, but it's okay. And you could even skip that part if you wanted to. And I got a little bit outside of that back here. But again, you're not going to see that because we're going to make the background dark green. So the dark green is shaded spruce. That pink, if you're keeping track, is called Bubble Bath. Something else to remember too is that your inks will smooth out some. So if you have splotches, they're not going to be as noticeable once the ink completely dries. So now we're going to go ahead and use this green up here. And we're also going to use it on these trees. Okay, and then on the berries over here, we're going to do the darker maroon color, which is rich razzleberry. All right, and then the darker shade of the turquoise is Bermuda Bay. And we're going to use fresh freesia for the snowflakes. So the snowflakes are going to be purple and blue. Okay, and then we got a little bit of a background behind the house and the tree. And we're going to come back in with the balmy blue for that. And that finishes off stencil 2. And it looks like I got some green in here that covered up my pink, and that'll be okay. We're just gonna go with it. All right, stencil number 3. We got some of the finer details going on here. So let's get this one lined up. All right, so let's do the dark parts on the deer. This is early espresso. And we got the roof of the house and the door. And then there's also a tree trunk. And then we have a tree trunk up here. Okay, and then we have the collar of the deer, and we have the poinsettia flowers. We're going to do those in cherry cobbler. Okay, and we got some little dots down here that we're going to do in boho blue. We have some snow up here that we're going to do in some balmy blue. And there are some little stars around the ornaments that we're going to do in yellow and bumblebee. And that finishes off stencil 3. So I'm going to rinse this one off and then we'll do stencil 4. But this is what we have so far. So you can see this goes really quickly. Even though I'm speeding it up, it really doesn't take that much time at all to do this. Okay, and stencil 4. And this is just the final details. For the dark green leaves, I'm actually going to pull out a Catherine Polar ink. This is Deck the Halls. It's darker than the green that I used on the background. Okay, and then for the little decorations here, we're going to use, let's do some real red for those. We're also going to use the real red for the berries up here. For the centers of the poinsettias, we're going to use Bumblebee. And we're also going to use the Bumblebee for the star. I'm not going to put the dots in that are on the tree. I'm actually going to use little gemstones to decorate the tree. For the strings and the little toppers, I'm going to use soft suede. And we'll also use soft suede for the windows and, yeah, for the windows in the house. And then we have some snowflakes that we're going to do in Balmy Blue. And that finishes off stencil 4. So these are the 2 panels that I did. So now I'm going to take these and I'm going to make 2 completely different cards with them, and I'll come back and share those with you. And we are back with the cards. So I changed my mind on what I was going to do. The original plan was that I would create 8 cards using this stencil. And I've decided that I'm not going to create that many with this. I do love this stencil. It has nothing to do with that. But I started going through my other Christmas stuff and found that I have a lot more Christmas stuff that I really want to play with. So rather than make a whole bunch of cards with just a few little things, I'm going to make a whole bunch of different cards with a whole bunch of different things. So for this one, I opted to just make 3. 2 of them have the same color palette. So let's go through these. So this was the first one. This was the one that I did on camera where I did the ink blending. And I picked out paper out of my stash that kind of matched the colors in this. And this is old scrapbook paper from probably 20 years ago. And then some glitter paper. And then I added some honeybee gems to it just to give it a little something extra. And then this is the second one. I opted to cut apart the stencil and make them look like individual postage stamps. I popped this one up and this one up. They've got a little bit of dimension to them. And then I cut a Happy Holidays out with a glitter paper base that matches the back matting paper. And this pattern paper is part of the same scrapbook paper that this piece came from. And again, that's from like 20 years ago. You probably wouldn't be able to find it now. But I just tried to pick colors that would match, but I also wanted the sparkly shiny of the glitter paper. And then again, I added honeybee gems on this one. And then for the third one, I went a different route. Before I did the ink blending of the stencil, I picked out the papers that I wanted to use. This was Stampin' Up paper that I used in a video a couple of weeks ago with the light pink and the light green color palette to it. It also has blues and a darker pink and a darker green and the crumb cake, the brown. So the color palette was a lot more limited on this one than it was on this one, so it was a little bit harder, but I managed to do it, and this is what I ended up coming up with. I opted to leave it as a whole panel like this, and again added the honeybee gems to it, and those are the 3 cards. So tell me in the comments, which one is your favorite of the three? I really like this one. This one was a lot it was harder to do the ink blending on it because the color palette was more limited. But it came together a lot easier because the color palette matched paper that I knew it was going to match. This one, these two were a little more difficult. They were easier to do the ink blending of the stencil because I could pick any color that I wanted. But then trying to match that up with paper was a little bit more tricky. All in all, I like all three of them, and I might come back to this and do some more of these, but for now, this is the three. So let me know in the comments which one is your favorite, and let me know also if you have this stencil and if you plan on using it this year. So thank you for joining me today for this video and the last installment of Christmas in July. I don't plan to make Christmas cards again on my channel until November. So if you don't have your Christmas cards done yet, like I don't have mine done yet, don't worry. There's more videos coming in November, and those will start the first weekend of November. But until then, I'll be doing other kinds of videos, and I have one already for you for next week. So I hope to see you there. Have a great week, and we'll see you in the next video.